And we're live. So we'll kick it off as we get some viewers, assuming we get a few here. Maybe a stretch.
So how's your day, Chris? How about that? We'll start off with something easy.
Well, it got off and running like usual, right at the crack of about 11:30. So boys got up around 2. They are prepared for college life.
So they're on West Coast time.
They're on college time. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got a few people coming in here, so thought I'd introduce my co-host here on the Beef and Barney show with 2 PBA titles, a former Team England member. In the greatest irony of all, an Englishman living in the USA, fan of the Patriots. He has been a member of 10 Weber Cup teams, maybe more. A few of them actually won. And, he is the voice of Flow Bowling. I think maybe the preferred voice of Flow Bowling.
That just means I missed the cut a lot.
And our esteemed guest today, up in your upper right-hand corner, he's authored a book, The Game Changer, so he's already ahead of the curve. He's smart and right. He produced a DVD called The System. He has 4 PBA titles, 28 PBA shows. He was the 1985 high average winner. He's run 40 consecutive sold-out camps at his Camp Bakes, and he's a partner of mine in the Baker Barnes clinics worldwide. Our esteemed and renowned World Bowling coach, Mark Baker.
Afternoon, guys.
Hello, Mark.
How are we all doing?
Glad to have you.
Yeah, we are glad to have you.
Look forward to this.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can hold my own.
First of all, what kind of levels of people do you teach? I think people assume that you teach only the pros, or some people only the people at your clinic on Sunday mornings. What kind of level?
I think I teach everybody. I mean, I spend the least amount of time with the pros, actually. I did a lot more with the pros when you guys came to Fountain at the Dick Weber Open a lot, but I would say I spend most of my time between 160 and 210 averages would be where I coach most. But on our Saturday clinic, Barry Ash and I run at Fountain Bowl. We have people that come down there that don't own their own ball and no shoes. They've never bowled. So I go from that all the way up to, the guys at your level. So there's no average range I don't coach.
That's great. Hey, we might have a little treat here today. My esteemed co-host, I don't know if he has a clip on his phone ready, but we might just go this live for you and let you look at a clip from Stu and see what you see.
Let me see if I can get it in the screen. What would that be?
I'm good. I already got it. I've already watched you struggle this year.
There we go. Is that going to play? No.
I got it.
Okay.
So I would. All right, you ready, Stu?
Yeah, I'm wrestling.
I know. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do this. All right. So, would you say you're a field player?
I would say that would be a good analogy.
And the strength of your game is your ability to change your releases.
Speed and releases, yeah. Speed more, right. I think.
You can change your speed and you can change your releases as well as anybody. You can create a lot of different ball shapes, correct?
Yeah, I try to, yeah. It's sometimes when I mean to.
Sometimes even when you're trying. So in watching you bowl this year, so a person that does what you do, where your releases and your speeds are so much part of your game, what your strength is, because everybody on tour has to have something they're better at than everybody else, or you can't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
So the key to that is the body position at the foul line. So this year, watching you bowl, like I've gone back, I knew we were going to do this, so I went back and watched some of the main shows when you bowl real good against our team on TV.
Yeah.
You struck, right. So I watched those. Your body position then at the foul line was very solid. Yeah. Now, as I see you get more and more of a crouch in your stance, So you're starting out low, you're finishing much higher at release point. So now your hand is in a different spot in the ball a lot. So that consistent release and the ability to shape it isn't what you're getting. So I would imagine right now you're throwing 2 or 3 good shots in a row that you think you're back on your game, and then you throw a shot that makes absolutely no sense. So that I obviously with flow bowling, I get to watch you, and you're fun to watch, and I like how you do things. I like how your ball comes off your hand. So I always watch you a lot. And this year, seeing you not bowl as well as you would like, I'm seeing your body position different at the foul line than normal. So you're starting lower and finishing higher. So the first thing I would do is stand you up, because all it is timing. If your timing is good, your hips drop in your pivot step, then you can stay level at release. Your ability to have your body in the same position at release allows you to do those things that separate you from the other guys. Like a year and a half ago at Oklahoma when you dominated. If you go look at that tape, you will see your body at the bottom of your swing in the same position every time. Now I see you coming up out of your shots a little bit. So your hand and the ball aren't in the same position. Your hand's more on top. So it's not hooking in the spot you want it to hook.
Okay. Well, I will take that on board for sure. And I will, when we finally get a bowling center open, maybe I can forget. Maybe there's been enough time off now to forget all the things I was trying to do differently.
Here's another way of looking at it. When you throw your good shots, if there was a screen of mesh at the foul line, all your good shots, your face hits the same place in the mesh every time. Every time. And all your shots that you miss on, your head would be 3 to 4 inches higher on that mesh. So now your hand has rolled up the ball, because the ball's in its arc. You're not strong enough to pull the ball up at the bottom of your swing. Your hand just rolls up on top. So now your hand's not as low on the ball as it used to be. So it takes away some of that ability to manipulate your roll and your speed that you used to have. That's what I've noticed. Okay. You're not throwing as many good shots in a row as you usually do. Because usually when you see it, when I watch you bowl, it's like 2-0, 210, 260, 260, 260. Once you get it, you tend to strike a lot. So I don't see you having those strings of all those big games right in a row. And especially when a lot of guys are struggling, you figured out it doesn't matter the lanes when you bowl good. You just shoot 260 whenever you shoot 260.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark.
You bet.
There you go. Well, I've heard many of those, and that's nicer than he talks to me. So obviously he likes you more already.
Well, he didn't argue every other sentence.
Hey, I'm the host.
Hey.
Mark was a lot of guys, even from my generation. I never got to bowl with Mark on tour, even though relatively our ages aren't that much different. But tell us a little bit about, you were the high average in 85. You were renowned, as I talked to guys like Husted and guys through your generation, as being one of the best players, if not the best player on tour there for a 2 or 3 year stretch, including being high average in 85. What ended your career? Why did it stop?
I'd like to know that my answer myself. I mean, the easy answer is when I had back surgery in 91. I bowled really good in 84, 85, 86. Those 3 years, I was pretty tough. I was probably top, you couldn't get rid of Holman. You can't get rid of Albee and Pete Weber. I was probably 3rd or 4th best guy on tour. I made a lot of shows those 3 years. I think the reason why I bowled so well in those couple years where those were the lanes were really hard, and being the biggest guy or one of the largest guys on tour and one of the strongest, the lanes really got ugly every week. And if you look at the high averages, my year and the next year was me and John Gant, probably the 2 strongest athletic guys on tour at that time. And if you look at my average, what I averaged, it was the lowest high average in 66. I only averaged 213, and it's still the lowest average since then. So the lanes were just basically nasty, and I got to play 5th arrow every night squad. I was pretty good at 5th arrow, so it played into it. And then, I bowled okay the next couple years, and then I had back surgery and never really bowled on tour again.
So 213 is really low.
Yeah.
They were hard. I mean, it was me and Holman, and it was me, Holman, Pete Weber, Mark Roth. It was Wayne Webb. I'm the fly in the ointment when you look at the Hall of Fame. All the guys that have been high average are all Hall of Famers except me. So I was the anomaly. And the year I did it was the first year that, here's a good stat, from 73 to 84, either Roth, Holman, or Earl were high average. I beat Marshall on a spare in the 10th on the last game of the last show on TV to be high average. So that was my one claim to fame. The one time I got it over on Marshall. The only time I got it over on Marshall.
So you had a bunch of roommates out there. Why don't you tell us about your favorite roommates and some of the I don't think they know who all you did room with.
Well, mainly it was Dave Husted for the most part. I mean, I room with Dave, I'd say 80% of the time. Every now and then, Dave's wife, Michelle, would come on tour, and so then I'd have to find a new roommate. I got the pleasure rooming with Mark Roth for a year. That was interesting. He taught me a lot about bowling, a lot about how to think. I roomed with Mike Taylor, a kid from San Diego, for a while. And then 1 year, for short periods of time, because we were both kind of alike, I roomed with Joe Hutchinson. That was never boring. Our room was always pretty excitable those weeks. But those are the guys I room with the most. But Husted 80% of the time. And I still talk to Dave. I talked to Dave this morning. It's just, I don't know what we talk about. I just know we laugh a lot.
And you had your own language there for a while. I couldn't understand when you guys talked to each other.
Oh, that was, a friend of ours named Mike Hart had a different way of talking. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that. It's almost embarrassing now that I'm 59, talking like a high school kid.
What you said Roth taught you some things about it. What was the most interesting thing he taught you?
I'll never forget. I made the finals in Kansas City in '85, and I had made, this is the winter tour, and I'd made probably 7 or 8 finals of the first 10 weeks. And, and I was 23rd or 22nd, and they announced your name in the top 24 back in the old days when we had a huge crowd. So you act kind of calm. And then I got out in the car, and I'll never forget, we were roomed together. I'm in the rent-a-car, and I punched the roof 2 or 3 times in excitement, like, yes, another finals. He looked over at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, why are you so excited? You haven't done anything yet. So I made another finals. He goes, that's no big deal. That's your job. If you can't make 50% of the finals on tour, go home. This isn't a charity. Your job is to make the top 5. I'm like, wow. And there he goes, you should assume you're making the finals, bowl for 5th. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense, Mark. You never qualify 5th. And he goes, you know why? Why? He goes, because I'm not trying to qualify 1st. My goal is to be 5th. I'm like, but I don't get it. Why are you trying to be 5th? He goes, because you can't win from 6th. So I thought that was pretty, he said, with 3 games to go, I'm always close. I shoot 680 the last 3. I win all 3 matches, and I go from 3rd to 1st pretty much all the time. So Roth had a different way of looking at it. I started assuming I was going to make the top 24. And then 85, I ended up making 23 out of 29 finals. So obviously it worked pretty good that year.
So if you had to look back,
you just looked at it different.
Yeah. What would you do differently now? If you had to do it all over again, what would you do different?
Oh, I'd become a much better spare shooter. Your generation has it over our generation big time, or the generations, the high roller generation. Then I would spend way more time on my spares. And something you do, Chris, that I never even thought about doing. Every year you try to add a trick. Every year I felt like I tried to hang on. It was like, the Vosses came on tour and the Parker Bones. We didn't bowl on as extreme amount of conditions, so we didn't need to throw it more than one way very often. If you look at the shows from the 70s and 80s, we all really did one thing really well. Very few players, would play out and throw it really, really straight. Then the next week you'd see them at 5th arrow hooking the whole lane. We didn't have a lot of guys that did that. So I would have tried to, I was good at certain things. I wasn't good playing out, so I just didn't really practice playing out much. I just assumed after game 3, I wouldn't have to play out anymore. By game 10, 11 that night, I get to play in. So I would have worked on more versatility and definitely worked on my spares.
We do have a question here, and it's up on the bottom. It says, you and I both had back surgery. Is bowling affecting after the years or something specific?
My doctor thought when I had the surgery that I drove too much. He says when you sit, put my hands up like that, when you're sitting and I had a couple bad flights on tour where we landed really bad. We landed like the back ends meeting the front end of the plane. It felt like, all right, I've had enough of this flying. We would fly in the winter tour. We flew into Milwaukee in the snow, and the stewardesses were scared. I'm like, I don't need to do this anymore. So I started driving on tour, but living in California, most of the stops are in the Midwest, back east. I did a lot of driving by myself usually. So I would drive nonstop from LA to Dallas and think nothing of it. So sitting that way for long periods of time opened up the vertebrae in my back and let the disc slip out. So I would get out of the car after driving 20, 30 hours and just bowl. I wouldn't stretch. I wouldn't do anything. I just got out of the car and go bowl pro-am. So he thought all that driving in the car made my stomach muscles weaker and let the disc slip out my back. And I was probably bowling 2,000-3,000 games a year. And it just one day I went to pick up a trash can lid. And my career was over. I had, had ruptured a disc, and I was pretty much done.
Wow.
So I think mine was driving too much.
I've been
I don't
trying
think
to
that's Chris's excuse.
Go ahead, Stu.
What's that?
I said I don't think driving's your excuse. You always found somebody else to drive your car.
not back when, not in the earlier days. So, yeah, the travel, I think it makes it worse. I'm not sure it caused mine, but I think it really makes it worse for me. For the most part, that's when I have the worst weeks. Ironically, I guess mine kind of got triggered by the ESPN Mobile did a commercial a long time ago, and I stood outside in an alley. It was about high 40s, low 50s, and for about 3 hours, just every 10 or 15 minutes, go throw a shot down an alley on the seat, sliding on the sidewalk, and then went right from there and bowled the Masters. And I picked a ball up off the rack, and like you said, I caught and I went pale, and that whole cold shiver ran through me, and I went, that wasn't good. And the next day I couldn't walk at all. And that's kind of where it all started.
That's almost verbatim what I would describe. When I picked up the trash can lid, I got stuck. I literally couldn't walk. The next day I crawled to the shower and put the hot water on it. Like I could stand up fine, like, okay, this isn't right. And you have an MRI and the doctor's like, you see this? It's supposed to be clear, clear, and clear. Yeah. See this part over here is black? That's not where it's supposed to be. So not being a doctor, I figured out that the x-rays didn't look good, but the same thing. It was just one movement and I was done. Luckily yours healed itself a lot better than mine. And, I was a lot younger, so who knows why, but it was bad.
So
we talked a little bit earlier about your DVD, and this is it here. I don't know if you still have them up on your website for sale, but we'll give you a chance to.
No, those kind of stopped selling.
I actually have a DVD here as well. Tina dug it out, and I think Chris has come a long way since this one.
Ooh.
There you go.
How to increase your average. So was this what got you to do the DVD? You realized that if this could sell, that you might be okay.
Yeah, I wasn't actually involved that much in that. I did some of the voiceovers, but I really wasn't a lot of the content. Much like Mark, basically just a bowling.
I can guarantee you one thing: he made a lot more money doing my DVD than he made doing that DVD.
Chris
Not
Chris
even
is
close.
actually recalling the bank accounts right now.
I can remember. I can tell you what the checks were. They were good checks in the beginning. He was liking those checks every month for a while. And then about the third month, the tap turned off.
Yeah, that's not bad. Lawrence Marquez says, "What changed Melly to win more on TV?" Well, I'm glad somebody noticed. Dave Ryan never did. But actually, around 2008, I started working with Mark, and obviously, I had some issues on TV, and I was on TV bowling a match, and they actually filmed the shot that I threw bad in the middle, like the 6th or 7th frame, and Mark was watching it, and he figured out my trigger there that caused things to go wrong. We talked about it afterwards on the phone and put it in play the next week, and got in a couple of sticky situations, and was able to basically not repeat my biggest miss. Was able to make a show I had no business making in Columbus. Actually, ended up winning again in Columbus. Made the show at the U.S. I think I won and then I beat Walter shortly after that up in Connecticut, and made the show, and needed a strike to beat Scroggins to bowl for the title of the U.S. Open, and left an 8-pin. But basically, Mark was I don't know if I was mentally, but I finally figured out what I did wrong the most often. On TV or under pressure, and Mark was really the one that figured that out.
So I have a couple of questions for Mark. Did you like? Because for me, I'm not a really big physical game guy. When I watch it, I don't really see it that well. Did you always feel like you had a good grasp on physical game as a bowler, or did you kind of teach yourself? No, I mean, like, just watching other people, like, you could see, like, because, like, for example, I find it very easy to watch one shot and see someone's ball reaction and know kind of why that's not going to work. Whereas, like, I know that, like, sitting next to, like, you or Rick, you'll watch, like, two shots maybe, and you'll be like, oh, see, that guy's going to suck because he does this. And that's always going to be his problem. So was that something that you felt like you had a good grasp on when you were a bowler?
What would be the opposite of a good grasp? How about none? I knew absolutely nothing about any of it. Here's how I would describe my career. I was a really good athlete who liked to compete and never gave up. And I had a little, I had better average hand-eye coordination than just about everybody else. I played pretty good basketball and baseball. I just liked to compete, and I was, I bowled okay. But I never understood anything about the physical part. I used to listen to David Ozio and Wonderlich talk about it. And I'm like, I don't even know what these guys are talking about. I just knew it felt good some weeks, and some weeks it didn't feel good. Pretty much, I started studying it after I got done bowling. Like, why did certain guys beat me when I thought I was better? So I started studying it and seeing what the guys that did right. I tried to figure out what everybody did right that bowled good. What were the things they all did the same? And if you watch the System DVD, I picked out quite a few of them. So when I bowled on tour, when I saw Steve Wonderlich last year at Bowl Expo, he said, of all the guys in our generation that became a coach, you would have finished last in the voting. You knew nothing about bowling. You just knew how to hit the pocket a lot. So
that gives
learned
me some hope then.
Yeah, it was nothing it was ever designed to be. It just, I kept watching, and people started getting better, and it just kind of turned into itself, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy it more than I did bowling. So it was never no, I did not know much about it when I bowled on tour.
Okay.
Well, we get a question here, and it kind of ties right in with Paul Wolf. But
who did I go for with help? If I'm answering Paul Wolf's question about who did I go to help with in your career, Ozio helped me. Ozio definitely drilled me a lot of balls. David Ozio was super smart. I think I made the first show with a Vector 2 in Toledo.
Nice. Vector 2.
And I think the person who actually helped me the most on tour was Jeff Bellinger, guy from South Carolina, probably one of the smartest guys ever bowled on tour. He would just come up to me and say, when you bowl well, you do this. You're not doing that now. And then I would kind of break it down my way, and immediately I would bowl really well. I think Jeff understood my game better than I understood my game. But Bellinger helped me a lot. I would say Ozio helped me a lot. We all went to John Jowdy. John was the guy. We all let John take a swing at it. So John at times John did his things his way, and he helped a lot of players. So John helped everybody. But out for me, it would be Ozio and Bellinger. So that would be my two guys.
Next question there. Which career tournament was your best win, and how many? From Sue Nicholson. How many 300s did you have? Did we each have?
I had a lot of 300s. That's kind of the answer. I don't know how many. A lot. I'd say, if you count league and tournaments and tour, I'd, north of 50 to close to 100 probably. My career, my best win. I'd probably have to be the first one. The first time you win is always like, it goes from being bowling at your home bowling center, champion lanes, and you're going to bowl this guy for the title and you need to strike and all that craziness. And then you actually do something like that. But the icing on the cake for me was I bowled Bob Hanley for the title in Miami in '84. That's 1984 for the younger people. That's a long time ago. But that we did have bowling. He was on TV, color TV, not black and white. And Hanley needed them all in the tent to make me spare. And he got up and got one little clip too close to the edge, and it fell in the gutter. So sitting on the bench, I won. And you're like, oh my God, I won. And then I'll never forget, a vice grip came on my neck and grabbed me by my neck, right there. It was this big giant hand. And the guy leaned over and said, hey, congratulations, kid. I'm glad you won your first title in my house. That was Don Carter. So I'll always have that to remember. What a great guy. He was just a great guy. So I also won at Earl's house, and some more of the Hall of Famers should own bowling alleys, I guess. I'd have had a much better career.
Okay, I have another question. Of the guys that you teach on a weekly, monthly basis, what would you say is the most common issue you see with say around the 200 average bowler?
It would always be consistency. They're constantly throwing, they're a fairly good amount of shots, but their consistency. So it's somewhere in their approach, a little bit of timing, a lot to do with balance. And then I would say the number one thing that I spend more time with is lane play.
Okay.
I spend more and more time on how to play the lanes, and everybody has a place they like to play. Most people don't like adjusting very much. That's why they stay stuck at 200. So I spend a lot of time trying to explain how a lane breaks down, how oils break down, how, there's all kinds of different ways to go into that. But I spend a lot of time on lane play.
Cool. Very cool. What did you like better, competing or coaching? I know they're very different
coaching.
things. Oh yeah.
Coaching until this last 3 weeks, I get paid every week. Bowling, when you're bowling good, Chris, I never got to your level. But I had a good run. I made 21 shows and 14 shows in 3 years or something. I can't remember. But I had a good run. So it was a lot of fun then when you're on the show all the time. But I get more out of the coaching. I just see it different. So I guess here's how I'd put it for coaching. Bowling, I was supposed to be pretty good. I was going to be okay. I bowled about, 15, 20 events, and I kind of figured out, all right, these guys are good, but Mark Marshall and Earl are a different league. But I can compete with the rest of these guys. I'll figure this out, and I did okay. But when I coach, and say it's you, Stu, or you, Chris, or say it's that 200 guy, and when they throw that shot, and with Chris it's tricky because he never really shows it. When you guys throw that shot and you turn around and that smile on your face that you have there, Stu, like that's the one I want to throw every time the rest of my life. I know what that feels like. I threw enough good shots to feel that. So when you have that smile on your face, that does it for me. So that's why I like coaching more. I get to experience that 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day, at different lessons. So I get a lot out of people turning around with that smile on their face and that fist clench going, that's the one. So I think that's why I like what I do so much better.
Okay, well, I have a question that I've been asking everybody, and I'm not going to be as mean as I was to Linda with this, and involve Chris in it. But if you had one shot in your whole life that you could throw again, what would it be?
The first shot in the 10th against Mike Albee in Indianapolis. I needed a double to win. Bowling against Mike at Woodlawn in the middle of his career. And I had led by 400, 500 that week. I ran him over. And I started out open on TV in the title match. And then I had a really good run to get there. And I'll never forget when I got in the 10th, I needed a double. I wasn't worried about it. I'd been a fairly clutch basketball player all my life. I liked that moment. And the little light on top of the camera switched to my second step, so I stopped. And I started laughing, and I laughed, and like, wow, that kind of got me off my train of thought. And then I got up and threw the shot in the 10th, and it was just about as bad as you could throw a bowling ball. For the money, I threw it that bad. So I was more embarrassed and upset, and it really affected me on TV for the next 2 or 3 years. I went from being a guy that didn't fear the moment to like, how am I going to screw this up? So if I could have that shot back, if I could have that shot back, and even if I would have got 9, hit the pocket, it'd have been okay. But to throw it as bad as I did, and the lanes were super easy. It was impossible to miss the pocket, and I managed to do that. So that one really stuck with me a long time. That's just the way it goes. But that was on me. Or I would say 85 when I lost to Guppy in Austin. I shot 279 the game before to beat Ferraro, 279, 278. And then Guppy comes over, and for whatever reason, I thought Guppy wasn't going to shoot 200. He didn't have a very good look. For whatever reason, he didn't have a very good look. We'll just leave it there. We bowled late at night that show. Guppy was ready. I'll leave it there. So I thought all I have to do is shoot 2-0 and I'm going to win. So from going from 279, I decided to play safe and shoot 200 and just make spares, which really wasn't why I ever made TV shows, making spares. So I just shot 150 again. So that was, I gave that. And I think Guppy shot 190. So 2-0 would have won. Good theory, bad in practicality. Those 2 shows I gave away. Those I'd like to have back. Austin had a great trophy, big giant wooden thing of the state of Texas. That one should be in my office right here. Instead, it's Guppy's house. So that one's for you, Guppy.
Okay, Chris. You look like we've got a few questions firing in. If you want to highlight a couple of them.
Yeah, we got a couple of them there. This is the pro level players. Is there a common issue, which is a little bit along what Stu was asking.
It's always, I think Tommy Jones always has the same. I think you guys all have the same when you explain it to me. It's hooking at my toes If I get it right down lane, it won't hook back. That's kind of what, and when you bowl good, you never see the fronts. And when you guys bowl really good, you can get it farther right than anybody else. So I can see Stu smiling. You know what that feels like.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you got one or two more to the right than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just get your launch angles get bad. I think that's what happens. You just get where you bowl a lot, and the ball gets a little bit steep for whatever reason. There's going to be a myriad of reasons why that happens. Luckily, I'm pretty good at figuring it out pretty fast. But all I have to do is see, like with Tommy, if I can see 2 or 3 really good shots, and then he follows it up with 2 or 3 bad, it's pretty easy to see where the fix is. And I've worked with Tommy for a long time, so he trusts me, so he'll do whatever I ask. So I think that's usually what it is with the tour players. They get where they're fighting the first 40 feet, and when they bowl good, they don't see the first 40 feet. Because that, if you're fighting the first 40 feet, that really doesn't work because there are no pins in the first 40 feet.
True. No, makes sense.
There's an easy one for you, Mark. So.
Yeah, I wasn't a big sock guy. I wear socks now. I mean, little short ones. No, it was just because I played basketball all my life, and I wore either 2 or 3 pairs of socks, depending if the shoes fit right. So after basketball practice, if you wore 2 or 3 pairs of socks, and I played ball every day, it seemed like, the last thing I wanted to do when I got done was put another pair of socks on. So I started wearing Sperry topsiders. My stepmom bought me my first pair, Sherry Baker. So I bought a pair of Sperry topsiders, and I pretty much wore those all the time till about 2 years ago. Now I wear those, the real soft tennis shoes. Those are pretty good on my back. So if you wear Sperry topsiders and you wear socks, you're kind of a geek. So sorry if anybody does that. That's not my habit. Living in Southern California, you would not wear socks and topsiders. So I came on tour, and then everybody made a big deal about it. So I always thought that was kind of, okay, sure. And nobody's ever proven to me yet you need to wear socks to strike. So I didn't think it was a big deal to not wear socks. So I made my first TV show, I think, in Houston in '83, and I didn't have socks on, and they had a heart attack. So you had to wear socks the next week. And then I wouldn't wear socks. Huh?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Then I wouldn't wear socks except to bowl. Then they changed it rule. You had to have socks on in the bowling center. So, I mean, that's whatever. So if that made guys happy on the tournament committee, the best I could do was to help them out. So that's the sock thing.
Chris, there's a great question here.
Which one?
Donnie Worthington. Chris, what's the craziest shot you've ever had happen to you? Was it the 5-7-10 on TV? Man, I didn't even pay him.
I know it kept me a little off guard, but it may have been the key to winning that whole match. So,
and tournament.
Well, yeah, no, actually, I didn't win.
Was that the one where you lost to Camo?
Yeah, I shot 258 in the final, and Camo beat me. So,
who'd have thought?
I didn't see that one coming. Either way, it didn't look like I was going to get out of the first round. But yeah, that one surprised me a little bit. It was a stone cold 5-7-10 though. It was 7 straight back.
Mark would have been proud of me. I ran down to the souvenir shop before he came back up. We borrowed 3 pins and we put them in a nice little triangle for when he walked into the green room.
Nice. What friends are for.
Exactly. We had fun with it. I've never seen one room empty because there was a balcony, because it was in it was basically on a basketball court where they built it. So there was like the offices or whatever upstairs, and I've never seen so many people run to the balcony to try and scream out at Chris. Oh my God, the whole place emptied.
That just happened. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bill's character, right, Chris?
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with that.
Any other questions you want to throw up there, Stu, before?
I'm looking for questions that are directed at Mark, because it seems like we've got a lot of interest. So I have no problem in keeping going for a little bit as long as Mark doesn't.
Yeah, I've got nowhere to be till like June, so I'm good.
It'd be funny if it wasn't true.
I get to watch Guys Groceries game, or I get to watch, some kind of game show on Game Show Network.
Oh, you sound like Tina. Tina's upset with Guys Grocery Games. She can now almost watch his introduction to go, seen it, change the channel.
Yeah, that's what Shannon, my wife, does. She has an unbelievable memory. It's like Gage, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good one. This is who wins. Oh, if Shannon's seen it once, she never forgets. Amazing memory.
We'll let Mark answer this one. Your best moment from your rookie year bowling?
I would say my rookie year would be the last 2 weeks of that year. We actually had a exempt list when I bowled on tour. You know, the rabbits were brutal, and I was 52nd or 53rd with 2 weeks to go. And I finished 6th in Rochester, and then I finished 7th in the World Open, and I got to 49th on the point list and never bowled a rabbit the rest of my life.
That's a highlight for sure.
Man, I had some rough runs in those. I had that streak in the rabbits where you'd go St. Louis, Kansas City, and you know there was only 32 lane centers, and you'd have 10 or 12 spots for 170 guys, and it would take even. So I had a lot of weeks where I would bowl 10 games, and I'd bowl 20 games in 14 days. That snow became overrated in about 2 days for me. There's a reason why I don't wear socks. I didn't like snow. So
yeah,
St.
I'm
Louis,
right there with you. I lived in Arizona. Don't like the schedule of Detroit, Columbus, Akron. So getting out of those rabbits was huge, and my career got much better. I mean, it was another Mark Rothism. So when I started rooming with Mark, you know, I had a bunch of, you know, back then, you know, Southern California actually had a lot of good bowlers. We'd have 15, 20 guys on tour at any given time. So I started rooming with Mark a lot, and his edict was, if you're going to hang out with me, you can't hang out with the rabbit guys. I'm like, well, they're my friends. He goes, they can be your friends at home. You hang out on tour, you hang out with guys that win. If you hang out with guys with bowl rabbit, you'll end up bowling the rabbits too. You pick. So I hung out with Roth. Mark definitely had his points of view on certain things, and they were all 100% correct. He was, I mean, as close to a savant as we ever had on tour, I think. He just knew more about bowling, and he just liked to win. I mean, he obviously he liked the money, but if you bowled the Pro-Am against Roth and it was for a cup of coffee and he had 500 turning, he would come down and let you know he had 500 turning and how he wanted his coffee made before the third game was over. And it would seem like he'd be happier winning the coffee than he would be winning the tournament, because it made that I had to buy. He just thought that was the funniest thing ever. So Mark was one of the best roommates I ever had. He taught me a lot about bowling.
Let's see. What other questions we have in here? Anything else you see there you want? There's been a bunch here. Come up here.
Well,
Can you teach a good? Go ahead.
Yeah, like from my point of view, anyway. I feel like the mental game question is more of can you trust your own physical game? I feel like that. I'm very much on Bill Hall's team with that. If you have an understanding of exactly what you're going to do, then you have a strong mental game. And if you don't have an understanding of what you're trying to do, then you probably have a weak mental game. And when you get up and you need that shot, I mean, we've all missed shots that we needed. And very rarely have I ever gone back and thought, man, I felt really nervous when I went and threw that shot. It's more a case of, you know, your mind just goes blank for those 2 or 3 seconds. And you think, what happened there? Why did that just happen? It doesn't feel any different. It just is. And that goes back to what Chris was saying about when he understood that hitch in his swing or whatever it was. He felt like he had much better performances after that.
Yeah, for sure. You get to a point where you feel like you just need a chance versus having to be ahead every time to go into it. It's a much different approach to the whole thing. Where you know you can improve at the end versus having to be ahead at the end. So
yeah, I mean that's a lot of it. I would think in my time, the guy who ended up having the best mental game was Amleto, and he did it a completely different way. He just became in better shape than everybody. So when I asked him why he did it, he goes, "If I'm in better shape than everybody, I'll never doubt myself on the lanes. So I'll act like I didn't, you know, whatever he did." But Amleto got where nothing affected him much. I mean, he would, you know, start out bad. It didn't matter to Amleto. He knew sooner or later he was going to strike. And so I always thought he had the best mental game in my era. Him or Mike Albee. Nothing seemed to bother Mike Albee much. But Amleto did a different way, and Albee just knew he would get his turn. And when his turn was there, he was ready to take advantage of it. So if Mike had a bad week, it just didn't bother him. And then when he had a chance, Mike didn't qualify fifth very often. Mike liked to qualify first and second. So I give him credit. He never let the bad weeks sweat it. But when the weeks that were good were there, he was mentally ready to take advantage of it. So I thought he was really good at that.
all right,
It's also people's backgrounds as well, isn't it? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We've got a pretty. I'll keep this short. It's a pretty funny story about back about 2007 or 2008. We bowled the World Ranking Masters in Kuwait, and Frawley ran a tournament the week before in the bowling center. So we all went because, why wouldn't you? It was another tournament that was going to pay really well. And there was one guy who was helping Frawley with the national team there. Fardell, I think his name was. Anyway, he was bowling really good on the short. And he was using the blue hammer or whatever. And he was bowling his match, and he'd bowled 800 2 or 3 times on the short. And he was bowling his match, and he was bowling an American bowler. And this isn't me protecting this person's identity. I can't remember who it was. I just distinctly remember it was an American guy. The American guy gets up in the 10th and strikes out to force Fardell to need a double. And he starts screaming at him, let's see you earn it, blah, 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 And Fardell goes up and gets the first strike, and Frawley turns to me and he goes, what he doesn't realize is Fardell was in the military, and he was kept as a prisoner of war for 4 years and beaten every day and never give up his where his troops were. So if he wants to throw a strike here, there probably isn't anything that guy's going to say to put him off.
Wow.
And that's where it is about. Different people come from different, walks of life, and it's like the mental game is so related to your life experiences as well.
That would be under the heading, the rough way to get a good mental game.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a bit like some of the NFL guys, they grew up and they live with their father in a car or whatever. Well, you better believe that guy's going to work pretty hard every day once he's got his opportunity.
True.
It's true.
Okay, let's move on to lighter notes.
All right. I think we had one up there. Paul Wolf asked about favorite cities to go to.
Was that towards me?
Yeah, sure. Well, you're the guest.
Start that way.
Oh, okay. Favorite city, Paul. There's kind of like two answers. It's the favorite city, or where did I bowl well? I bowled really well in Akron. Which, I made the show there 3 out of 5 times. I bowled really well at Earl's house. I won there. Made quite a couple shows in Dublin. I liked Edmond, Oklahoma, and I liked Milwaukee for different reasons. I mean, I had a little different outlook in life in a different century. So those were fun towns. Oklahoma, where we bowled at Boulevard, they did it first class. And Milwaukee was just Milwaukee. So that's kind of the Maine's version. You think about Maine now, Stu, Milwaukee was 64 lanes of that. And they were there at 9 a.m. I mean, the bar was actually on the lanes. Milwaukee was pretty impressive.
Nice.
The beer drinking capital of the world, and they proved it every day. No days off.
Hi, Gage.
Hi, Gage. I see him over your shoulder there.
We have a guest. We have a guest. Here's my son, Gage. He's how we doing?
Wearing an Atom Splitter jersey.
He's got his Silver Lake Atom Splitters on there. He's really hoping that we get to bowl this July in Maine, like myself. We were getting ready to have the draft, and that all went sideways. But he's home doing the schooling on the ebook and all that, so he's going as crazy as I am.
Yeah, Brady's not too happy today. It's thunder and lightning outside. Not good.
Gage is one-handed or two-handed now?
Gage is two-handed all the time now.
Good decision.
So he wanted to bowl two-handed. We were walking down Main Street at Disneyland, and he kept doing a two-handed approach. And at that time, he was a one-handed bowler. So I just looked at him and said, "Would you rather bowl two-handed?" "Yes, Daddy, I would." So next day was a Sunday, I think it was. I said, "Hey, it's 4 o'clock. Another dude, you want to go down to the local bowling center concourse? I'll let you bowl." "Sure." So I don't care. You're going to struggle. You're going to be no good at it. You've never done it. So we get down there. You get the 5 games, and it's a full house, 40 lanes, waiting list. So Gage is down there missing left gutter, right gutter, left gutter, right gutter, and there's some teenage boys next to him. And he finally gets up in game 3, and he throws a dead flush in the 8th. And then the 9th, he throws that shot that two-handers, the shot's, 7, 8 down lane. He gets it about 4, and it just turns left and splits the 8-9. Like, that's why you bowl two-handed. And as he walked back, one of the teenagers on the lane went, "Hey, dude, that was really cool. You look like that Belmonte guy on YouTube." Gage turned to me and said, "Daddy, I'm never bowling one-handed again." So don't ever discount what it's like to be cool. Throwing the ball cool is all right. So Belmonte was well known there, and he deserves everything he gets. But then after that, he's only been two-handed.
All right, Mark, who is the best bowler you've seen or worked with, and why?
That's a tough question. The best bowler I've ever seen would either be Earl or Roth. Those are the best two bowlers. I mean, Wayne Webb would be in that group. I'd have to list Wayne as one of the top 5 I've ever seen. The best I've ever worked with would either be the best I've ever worked with had to be Tommy or Chris. If there had been a full tour for all the years, Bill O'Neill might have passed them both. Bill's pretty solid. I work with Mika. I work with Couch. I work with Mike Fagan. I work with a lot of really good players. But the best I ever saw right now, Belmonte's doing things that are pretty impressive. The first couple of years I worked with Chris when he was really in his I'd never seen anybody make that many shows. Every week I'd look online and he'd call me, I bowled okay. How'd you bowl third? He kind of was like Houston that way. Dave was always brutal. We would room together and, we'd get in the car and I'd be pissed off. I'd be in 50th. And I asked him how he bowled. Oh, I bowled all right. Okay, so we would leave. And we had a rule. When the car left the parking lot of the bowling center, we couldn't talk about bowling. So we'd go back to the room and, 6 games later, we'd come back and I look at the sheet. I look at the bottom, Dave bowled okay. So I'm figuring he's behind me. So I look in the bottom of the sheet in 80th place and go up. And I get to like 20th and I couldn't find Dave. So I'd finally get to like 3rd and there'd be Dave in 2nd, 190 over. Like, well, you told me you didn't bowl. You didn't tell me you bowled okay. He goes, you didn't ask me how I scored. So, Dave would be 2nd. So I'd get calls from Chris. How'd you bowl? Smoke and mirrors. So I would start on the bottom of the website, the PBA, and look down there like, well, I know he beat these 4 guys. I mean, I can beat these 4 guys. I won't say who they were. All right, go up and go like 2nd place, Chris Barnes. I'm like, you said you bowled okay. He goes, well, I didn't really bowl good. I just bowled okay. I'd never coached anybody that got going that well. He had about a 3-year run. He made a lot of shows. So though I'd say Chris was the best I worked with for about that run, he just made so many shows, and it didn't matter what part of the lane they were playing, what ball he was using. He was, that was pretty impressive from an ex-bowler standpoint. That's kind of how Roth and Holman bowled. Just made more shows than everybody else. So I think that's what Chris did. So I'd say those are my answers. But Roth, I guess I put it this way. If you could take a Marshall Holman's body and put Mark Roth's head on top, there'd be no talk about the most wins of all time. It'd be over 100. Marshall was that good and Mark was that smart.
All right. Well, you got anything else you want to ask there, Stu?
No. I mean, there's still
yeah.
I mean, I feel like we could go on all day with this.
I do. We may just have to have you come back again.
Yeah. I mean, there's one guy's asking, do you feel like the pros of yesteryear were more skillful than the current pros?
No. How's that answer? No. Every generation's gotten better. What you guys know about bowling balls, none of us. I mean, the only person that would even be in the conversation would be Wayne Webb. Webb knew a lot about bowling balls. Wayne was doing things with balls that nobody else was doing. Billy Hall knew a lot about it. Billy Hall laid out all my balls for about 4 or 5 year period. Billy was super smart. Even though he wasn't a bowler, he helped a lot of us a big time. But the guys today, here's how I'll explain it. 2 years ago, I was at Columbus. It was E.J. Tackett, Belmonte, and Marshall Kent were practicing on one lane. I timed them from the moment they started. They all started out playing 5, 6, 7. It took them exactly 21 minutes to get to 6th arrow in practice. When I bowled on tour, we would start at 1st arrow also. I got to 6th arrow in the 15th game of that day. A squad, B squad, A squad. Then when B squad came back, then we would get to 6th arrow. So we would get there in 15 games. Those guys got there in 21 minutes. We never did that. So but if you take Don Johnson and you put Don Johnson in today's game and make Don Johnson 21 years old, he'd figure it out. So the really, really good bowlers, it has no effect on the Dick Webbers and the Don Johnsons and the Earl Anthonys. They'd figure it out. But I'd say your average player on tour now is a little bit better. Your guys' spare games are better. As much as the old guys want to say that, watch some of the old TV shows. There was a lot of spares missed. They weren't as good as they make it out to be. I bowl with those guys. Nobody hit one board. So all the older generation out there falling off your chair, I'm sorry, somebody has to tell you the truth. If you watch Roger Federer and then you watch John McEnroe in his prime, Federer would have blown him off the back of the court. Where was McEnroe going to return it from? The stands?
Yeah.
So every sport, they just get better.
It's just, I just feel like great athletes would be great athletes no matter what the generation they were in. Like if Michael Jordan played today, he'd probably still be the best player on the court. It'd just be different.
Yeah, he's still fun to watch, and like now they're having all that stuff with ESPN and all that. Jordan still, I think it's hard for LeBron to get what he's due because he's so big. I mean, LeBron is just such a big guy. And you look at Jordan, he was kind of skinny, kind of skinny legs, skinny calves, and he was just amazing. So, yeah, it's hard for LeBron to be rated as good as Jordan, but I think they're just the same. But any generation, I mean, you let these guys, they'll figure it out. So I think as a whole, your generation's better just because you have more tricks. We didn't have as many tricks as you guys.
And then this is the question I was looking for as well, Chris. So you highlighted it.
Okay.
Let Mark plug away before we finish up.
There we go. The next camp bakes.
That's a very good question. I mean, it's such a day-to-day thing. It's supposed to be in May 4th. We cancel the April camp, and we have a May 4th camp. As it's a day-to-day thing, I don't know where that's going to go. Watching the news is just depressing right now. So I really don't know. I know we're going to probably have 2 in October. 1 in October is already sold out. The October normal camp is already sold out with a waiting list. So I'm going to add a second camp in October. The next camp bakes. I wish I had an answer for you. I actually don't. If things were to flatten out real quick, and I think it'll be decided by Las Vegas. If the casino's open, we may try to do it. But then, you got to take into consideration how close are we going to be in the room, that kind of thing. There's a lot of things going on, so I really don't have an answer. I was hoping for May 4th, but I'll make a decision probably the next week or 2.
All right.
But October for sure. We're going to be back on the lanes in October. We better be. If not, we're going to run out of questions by then.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I have one favor. Guys who watch this, try sharing this video a little bit. We're trying to get out the word that we're doing this. Me and Chris have decided to go with this StreamYard app. We're hoping it's going to make it a little bit more professional than the FaceTime chat in front of the camera. So let us know what you think. And we've got a very special guest on Monday. Mark was awesome. But the guy we've got coming on Monday, Mark, has 36 more titles than you do. So Norm Duke has agreed to join us on Monday.
So that limited down to who that could be.
Yeah.
And Norm's great.
So that should be another entertaining show. I think me and Chris are going to try and do something on Saturday to keep you guys entertained. We will get back to you, but we're aiming for it being our consistent time at 3 Central. So Saturday is when you should check us out.
All right, and we'll finish up with our 12. We've expanded from 10 frames to 12 shots here. We're going for the perfect 300. So all our guests get to answer 12 fairly rapid fire questions.
You didn't tell me about this, buddy.
Oh, you're right. I did forget. Sorry
yeah, you didn't. Thanks.
But they're not that hard. You'll do okay here. We're gonna lead off with this is a layup. Your favorite band?
My favorite band is The Who. The greatest band of all time is Led Zeppelin.
All right. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Favorite toy as a child?
Basketball.
The one thing you cannot live without?
My family.
That's a first good answer.
To not say phone. I said what's you're that? The first person to not answer phone.
Oh yeah, I would imagine my wife and son would probably say that, but sadly, the things are addicting, aren't they? It's amazing how they're hooked onto our hands. But no, the word would be rudderless if I didn't have Shannon engage and my son Miles and the rest of my family, everybody. Yeah, I would not do well without my family. I would be a shut-in probably. So my family definitely brings out the best of me.
All right, the biggest pet peeve.
Oh man, that Wow, I don't even know what my biggest pet peeve. I mean, you can make a funny one. People who think they're experts that aren't, especially to guys like us who are experts. That's the easy answer out. But a pet peeve, I mean, God, they're just, I don't really have one. I have way too many. I mean, I guess my biggest pet peeve, living in Southern California, would be people that don't use their blinker. When you buy a new car and they tell you how everything works, they should also tell you the blinker still works. So my blinker's on and I'm going to change lanes. I'm not asking permission. I'm coming over whether you like it or not. So if you speed up when I speed up, I'm going to hit your car. That would easily be my biggest pet peeve.
Favorite cartoon? Yeah.
Favorite cartoon, Gigantor.
First. All right.
Frankie didn't go with that one, surprisingly.
The most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
Wow. Oh, okay. Most spontaneous thing I ever did. I went on tour. I packed my Datsun 310. Because I had to go to PBA school in Amarillo, Texas. And so the tour had been on the West Coast and I hadn't gone to school, so I couldn't bowl. I was living back and forth between my parents. So I had $2,000 on a Wednesday. I decided to go to PBA school on a Saturday in Amarillo. I told my sister Suzanne I was leaving. And when my parents asked about it on Friday where I was, you could tell them. I never told my dad because I knew I quit playing basketball. So I just ran away to go on tour with $2,000 to bowl 6 weeks. Finished last in the rabbit the first week, got a check the next week, made the finals the third week, and that's one of my best stories ever. My dad didn't know where I was, and I made the top 24, and he opened the LA Times, and there in black, Mark Baker, Garden Grove, 22nd. And he said, damn it, now I know where he is. So I ran away to go on tour. I basically joined my version of the circus.
The silliest thing someone has ever said or done to you or for you?
Oh, I'm sure it's something Gage has done. He's such a joy. Every day he wakes up, what are we going to do today? Every day he wakes up excited. So something he's, crazily done with me. I can't pick one specific thing, but some of the stuff Gage has done is just too funny.
Are you good at any accents or impersonations?
According to Shannon, that would be absolutely no. I can remember what they say when I try to say it there. Yeah, not so much. I mean, she does have a favorite, either English or Australian. I think her goal in life was for me to either, if I could sound like Adam Scott, have his money, and more importantly, look like Adam Scott, she would be a happy camper.
Well, that probably goes for all of our wives.
I was going to say, you could do worse than Adam Scott. And he seems to be like the nicest guy on the pro golf tour. So yeah. I have absolutely no ability with accents.
All right. You have a celebrity crush?
Adam Scott?
No, I would not say Adam Scott. After being home, I'd have to say too, being home all this time would be Brooke Burns on The Chase or Jill Wagner on Wipeout, because I watch those shows the most. So I guess it would be those two ladies.
What's your own most annoying habit?
Oh, I talk too much. And I talk really fast. So my most annoying habit would be, I'm slightly full of, so I would talk too much. I need to be a better listener. I just turned 59. So I've only got X amount of years to do that talent. So I'd better start working on it more.
All right. We'll wrap it up with what is the best and worst purchase you ever made?
Oh, the worst purchase is out in my backyard. It was a stair stepper type thing. I gave that about a half mile for $1,000. Elliptical. I just got the text. It was elliptical. Yeah, that my excuse was we put it in the house. My head kept hitting the ceiling. I didn't want to get in the way of getting in shape. So that was Shannon actually used it quite a bit. That was an expensive deal. Yeah, so do I. My best purchase. I didn't buy you. Or else I could trade you. All right. My best purchase would have to be when I decided to marry Shannon and I got her a diamond ring in Lake Tahoe. Smartest thing I ever did.
Wow, that's a good answer while you're secluded like this and sequestered. So, the smart
Remember this,
man right there.
Chris, as you well know, I'm never, ever the smartest guy in the room, but I'm never the dumbest guy in the room either.
Well, we did go well beyond our normal half hour here with our esteemed and world-renowned coach, Mark Baker. And I think we probably still have more questions. So we may come back and circle back around here in a couple of weeks when it seems like we'll all still be here. So
hey guys, thanks for having me on. This was well needed. We like I said, the news is so depressing right now. To have a little bit of fun and tell a few stories, and stay connected with my bowling family. Whenever you guys want to do this, and the people that came on today that took the time, we're all thinking about you. We all, I know, I just can't wait to get back on the lanes. If Stu were to fly to California, I'd work with him in a heartbeat. We would get it all dialed in. So I really do miss my bowling family. This is a crazy time what we're going through. But please stay safe. Do what they tell you to do. The faster we can all get this accomplished, the fastest we can all get back to something we really love. So thanks, guys, for having me on. I really did have fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely be asking you to come back, Mark, for sure. We've definitely had a lot of interest, that's for sure.
We did. I appreciate it. So on behalf of all the sponsors, and I've listed these off almost every time. So 900 Global, Roto Grip, Vice Grip, Turbo Grips, Dexter Shoes, 3G Shoes, Cool Whip, Logo Infusion, Mark Baker Bowling Camps, and Baker Barnes Clinics. And if I've forgotten anybody, I don't know. I think we're close.
Gage.
So in any event, join us in a couple of days. Stu and I will be back on at 3 o'clock. You can join me tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the 900 Global page, as they're going to have me on there doing I don't know what. So I'll be on there for approximately an hour answering all questions. There you go. You guys
can get some questions.
And now we can do it right here. So I can bring you all in anytime you want. That's perfect. So we can just continue this thing. So thanks again for everybody who showed up. If you liked what was going on, please comment, please share, and maybe we'll keep doing them on the StreamYard. This seemed to work out a little bit better. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in a couple of days.
Thank you.